The following is a paid advertisement of St. Anthony Hospital Orthopedics. References to any specific product, services, or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by St. Anthony Hospital, Carroll Broadcasting, or its advertisers. The views expressed by the host or guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Welcome to the St. Anthony Hospital Orthopedic Show with Dr. Richard Godding. Dr. Godding specializes in joint preservation, reconstruction, and replacement surgery, and brings over 25 years of orthopedic excellence to St. Anthony Hospital and to the Carroll area. For more information about Dr. Godding, his practice, or St. Anthony Orthopedics, go to santanthonyhospital.org or make an appointment by calling 712-794-5536.
Good Sunday morning, Iowa. It's Dr. Rick Godding, and thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of time with me here today. And today you'll get my Thanksgiving report, because last week I was recording for the Sunday immediately after Thanksgiving, and this week I'm recording for the Sunday after that, but it's really just the Monday after Thanksgiving for me in the radio world. And so I went down to Oklahoma to see my grandmother and my mom, and I wavered a bit on my diet, but kind of in ways that are a little bit different than you might think. My grandmother and I have gone to lunch at this truck stop north of her house in Dewey, Oklahoma, and we've been going there for at least 40 years. Same place. She lives in the house that she bought with my grandfather in 1945. And so, you know, I've mentioned it's that one place in my life that's had constancy. It's really the only place in my life that for my entire recollection has been the same. So it's interesting. But she's 97, and she actually worked for Phillips Petroleum, because Dewey is right outside of Bartlesville. And if you know anything about that area, Bartlesville is a city of about 40,000, and Phillips Petroleum was located, their entire worldwide headquarters were located there until about 20 years ago. But when I was growing up, I mean, Phillips was a giant worldwide corporation, but Frank Phillips had grown up in Bartlesville, and he wanted the corporation to stay there, so it was there. And of course, you know, the schools were great, and there were mansions in town because of the CEO would live. The CEO of Phillips Petroleum would live in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And of course, they would have a private jet, but was required to live in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. It was a really unique situation, kind of cool. My grandmother was an administrative assistant. She went to community college and learned to type and all that stuff back, you know, in the 40s, 50s, late 40s, early 50s. And she, I guess she would have been already working there and worked her whole career there. And my grandfather was a house painter, and they just bought that little house in 1945 and lived in it until my grandpa died about 10 years ago. And ever since then, she's been living there alone, and she's totally with it. She's a little slower than she used to be, but dang, she drives, which again, I'm not sure. I don't know what to say. I mean, she drives. I'm not going to be the one that tells her not to. She goes up to the truck stop in Copan, Oklahoma, it's about 10 miles, I guess, north of Dewey, where she lives. And it's a straight shot, 2-lane highway. She basically turns left onto the highway, which is in town at that point. And then she just goes straight shot, right turn into the truck stop, and left turn out of the parking lot, right turn back home. So she goes to the bank, the post office, the grocery store, and the truck stop for lunch a couple times a week. Lunch or dinner, I guess, depending on the season. But you know, it's a truck stop restaurant. They have a person there who bakes the pies, and they're all, you know, fresh pies, and it's really good food. And they have the best chicken gizzards I've ever had. So my grandma she was going to come down to Tulsa to our Thanksgiving celebration, but she fell Didn't hurt herself, thank goodness, badly, but she is 97. And she said she didn't think she was up to making the trip down to Tulsa. So Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, I drove up and I had lunch with her at the truck stop. And so I had my chicken gizzards. And if you're going to have them, you got to have barbecue sauce. So I blew my diet that day. Thanksgiving, I was actually very good. I had a spoonful of stuffing, and then just ate loads and loads of turkey and a lot of cheese. Then the day after Thanksgiving, we went to some friend's house, and they're Palestinian, and they had made this big spread. And, like full traditional stuff. And there was a lot of rice and hummus and things like that you would expect. And what are you going to do? Somebody puts out a feast, especially a cultural feast like that, and their whole big family is there. And so I had some rice and some stuffed grape leaves, which are some of my favorites. And then that's pretty well it. Other than that, I did pretty well as far as staying on my carnivore diet. Now I'm rounding the corner. I started the carnivore diet January of last year, and I've lost 50 pounds. I've absolutely gained 10 to 12 pounds of muscle. So I've probably lost 60 pounds of fat and then gained 10 pounds of muscle. At least 5 pounds of muscle, maybe 10, I don't know. But I'm just significantly stronger than I was a year ago. I'm going to recheck my cholesterol, triglycerides, and all that stuff. My blood, I did it at 6 months, and my triglycerides were cut in half. My LDL cholesterol went up a little bit, and it's still a little bit high. And so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about that. And then my blood sugar kind of didn't go anywhere. It's a tiny bit high. But my waist is at least 4 inches smaller. And my blood pressure's down about 30, 40 points, depending on the day. And I just feel so much better. I feel like I'm about 35 years old. And the reason I say this is because it's getting to be that time of year where everybody's going to make their New Year's resolutions and all that stuff. And I think if you're going to start a program of health, that the best way to do it is to plan for it. In other words, you don't want to just wake up on New Year's Day and say, okay, this year I'm going to lose some weight. I mean, have a plan. Pick because the reason I'm saying weight is because that's something that I've always struggled with, and I've had this tremendous success with the carnivore diet, which, if you don't know, if you haven't been a listener, I only eat meat and eggs and cheese. I've had some cheats here and there, but I go through the week, 99% of what I eat is meat or eggs or cheese. I might steal a nibble of something here and there, but probably 99.5% of what I eat is meat, eggs, and cheese, and light on the cheese, mostly meat and a few eggs. And it's a ketogenic type of a diet, if you know what that is, and that's where it puts your body into a state of ketosis, so your body is burning fat for energy. And that's a very efficient way for your body to burn fat and make energy, is to be on a ketogenic diet. Now, it's a radical diet, and if you're in really poor health on top of being obese, you certainly need to probably have some kind of supervision if you're going to go on a diet like that. But if you're just obese like I was, and maybe you got some high blood pressure, I also had sleep apnea, which, let me digress here a little bit. 2 years ago, when I had sleep apnea and didn't know it, I would wake up in the morning, and the first thing I would do is say, I wonder if I can come home from lunch today and have a nap. And that's a terrible way to go through life. And, because the first thing I would do is like, when can I sleep more? And I didn't know it. I mean, my wife told me I snored, but I just didn't really put it all together. Okay, yeah, I snore. Well, she snores too. So sorry if I let her secret out. But, she never had noticed me stopping breathing. So I kind of said, well, okay, whatever. But I went and did the sleep study, and I was waking up, I don't know, I can't remember, way more than 10 times an hour. It might have been 20, or it might have been somewhere in the area of 20 times an hour. I was either stopping breathing or waking up, and I never went into deep stage 3 or stage 4 sleep or REM sleep. And so I was constantly, think of the most tired you've been going through a day, triple that, and make that every day. And that's how I felt when I had sleep apnea. And so the reason I'm telling you this is, if you feel like that, and I was obese, and I think that was a huge contributor, and I may not even still have sleep apnea, but for right now, I'm just using the CPAP. But you don't have to be obese, because there's obstructive sleep apnea, and usually that is, when you got a little fat under your chin, but not always. It can also be what they call your soft palate could be deformed a little bit or enlarged a little bit. And then there's central sleep apnea. So there's sleep apnea that can come from your brain, which is a whole different thing. And I don't even know, frankly, I'm not sure if they treat that with CPAP. They probably do, but I'm not an expert in that. What I'm an expert in is telling you how much better fixing your sleep apnea will make your life. My blood pressure's down, and I some of that's the weight loss, some of that's the sleep apnea going away. But it's dangerous to have sleep apnea. If you're just exhausted, tired all day, every day, and you're over 50, I would talk to your doctor and just say, hey, is it possible I have sleep apnea? And usually what will happen is the insurance company will pay for a home test. And then if you do the home test and the home test is positive, you then go in and do the overnight test, which is the one that I did. And it's a disease, and I don't know if it's cured, but it's absolutely treated 100% because I sleep through the night. I look at, there's a little readout on my CPAP machine, and it tells me how many times I have an event, and it's basically always on 0 or 0.3 an hour, which means every 3 hours something happens. I snore. I'm thinking I probably turn over. Who knows? But I never thought, I can't sleep with this thing on my face. There's no way I can do that. But the funny part is I sleep so much better because you get into that deep sleep, and now my body is used to it. And again, the reason I'm saying this is it's such a huge life-altering thing. It just changed my whole life. It changed my outlook on life. And then I added in, doing the carnivore diet and increasing my workouts. And I'm a month from being a year into this process. I guess the sleep apnea thing's been on about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. Yeah, about 2 years since I got that fixed. But even then, I was feeling better, but not like once I changed and got all the processed chips and all the junk out of my diet and only eating meat. And there's different ways to do it. I'm not saying that you should do the carnivore diet. It's worked really well for me. I've struggled my whole life. I've done probably every diet and or exercise program that you can ever imagine, and it's just never stuck. But with this, it's just, I can do this because it just works for me. And some people don't like meat enough. Well, do the Mediterranean diet. Figure something out. And this is the time of year to really emphasize health in the new year. And I'm going to be 55 this year, so I'm starting to look at retirement. I probably have 10 years left to work. So here's one thing. 2 years ago, when I was in the middle of sleep apnea and wasn't feeling good and was overweight, I thought, how am I going to work even 3 or 5 more years? That was the energy level I had. And now I'm like, I can at least do 10, maybe 15 if I'm doing, sort of maybe a part-time thing. And my whole life has just absolutely transformed with those 2 things, is fixing my diet. Well, 3 things, I guess. I changed the way, I was always exercising, but what I did is I reduced the cardio and increased the weights. And I think really, I think that's a scratch. We'll leave that off because I had changed my exercise program up a little bit, but I've always exercised. But changing my diet and fixing my sleep apnea, those 2 things have absolutely transformed my life. And as we're turning the corner here into the time when people are going to make New Year's resolutions, again, let me go back to, I'm going to retire at some point. And there's never been a time when I've been more acutely aware with this transformation of the 2 paths I can take in retirement health-wise. And that is, I can be super vibrant and healthy and have all kinds of fun and have purpose and meaning and work and do volunteer stuff when I retire, or I can sit on the couch and I don't want that. And I went to this meeting of carnivore people. I have a YouTube channel that documents my journey in the carnivore diet and kind of goes over some of the science of it and things like that. And so I was invited to this meetup of basically people who have carnivore YouTube channels, and I met this guy. His name is Dr. Kiltz, Kiltz. He's an endocrinologist. He has 5 endocrinology clinics in several states. He pilots his own jet that he owns in between those clinics, and he has eaten nothing but meat for 15 years. He looks about 45, and he's 70, super fit, super energetic and vibrant. And the first thing he does with all the women that he sees is he puts them on the carnivore diet. He says, really, it's because it's the ultimate elimination diet. You're getting rid of everything. I mean, carnivore diet plus water. So no caffeine, none of the 50-letter preservatives that are in all the foods and things like that. And he says a certain 10-15% of the women will get pregnant just by going on the carnivore diet. And then the carnivore diet also treats what's called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, because that's an insulin problem, and he cures a lot of them. And then he does everything sort of mainstream fertility, and he does even embryo implantations and stuff like that. So you can imagine he has 5 of those clinics. That's why he's flying his own jet. But to meet a guy that vibrant at 70, just working his butt off and just helping people and having just this amazing, vibrant life, and having the foundation of his health and longevity be the carnivore diet, those are the types of reasons that I chose that avenue. But what I would say is choose an avenue. You've got a month here to get revved up for your New Year's resolution. And I don't care how old you are. If you go online and you look at, again, I'm not saying everybody should do the carnivore diet. I'm saying everybody who is obese should do something about it. But if you look at carnivore weight loss, you'll see people in their 70s and 80s losing weight and feeling amazing and vibrant and things like that. And so whatever health routine you want, I mean, talk to your doctor about it. Just say, look, I want to get real this year. But talk to yourself about it, really. Talk to your spouse or your kids or whatever, and just get it out there. Tell people, look, I'm going to get real about my health this year, and do it. And I know it comes around every year as an opportunity, but I'm just saying that nothing in your life is as important as your health. So again, when I think of retirement, I used to always think about, well, am I going to have enough money? Because everybody thinks that, right? Well, but now I don't think about that. I think, am I going to have enough health? And I'm working really hard on that one. And it has extended the number of years that I think I can operate and that I think I can work in general. I mean, at some point you got to stop operating, but I figure I could probably operate till 70 as long as I keep physically fit and mentally fit. I don't see why I couldn't. I've definitely known surgeons older than 70. So I have this whole renewal of possibility and renewal of energy and renewal of life. It all comes down to fixing my diet and getting rid of my sleep apnea. Or let's say treating my sleep apnea, which, at some point I'll go back in and get another sleep study. I just haven't really had time and everything to do it right now. But take this opportunity. This is the time of year to set a plan and chart a course for your health, because nothing matters if you're not in good health. And if your knee hurts and you fix your diet, you might find that your knee doesn't hurt. I've met plenty of people in this journey on this diet who have gone on a ketogenic or carnivore diet and their knees stop hurting. Some of them have lost weight, some of them haven't. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We can go into inflammatory mediators that are secreted by fat cells and things like that. But regardless of how you do it, it's a great time to start thinking really seriously about getting your health to work for you. And I just hope that everybody can do that. Hope everybody else had a great Thanksgiving. Of course, it's a little bit in the past now, but I just wanted to share my Thanksgiving. One thing that's really great is my 2 teenage daughters, when they get at Nana's house, they just get along super. It's like this little cocoon of love, and they emanate it. So it's beautiful to see. Anyway, we'll be back next week, and thanks for tuning in, and you have a blessed week, Iowa.
This has been the St. Anthony Hospital Orthopedic Show with Dr. Richard Goding. For more information about Dr. Goding, his practice, or St. Anthony Hospital Orthopedics, go to www.santanthonyhospital.org or make an appointment by calling 712-794-5536.